Hello, everybody. This is unconditional men, really. One of the videos that I've been considering making for a while now is based on some of my clients who not like to, feel the need to confront people. They feel the need to confront someone in their life. In some cases, they feel the need to confront many someones in their life. And so I wanted to make a video on how to confront somebody. So let's start with why we want to confront somebody. Now, from the experience that my clients have been having, they want to confront someone because someone has wronged them in some way. And one of the key things to focus on when you want to confront somebody is, how have they wronged you? What have they done? And do they think that they wronged you? Second thing to focus on when you're trying to confront somebody is, what are you looking for? What is the goal you're trying to have? Now, that's the important piece right there. Um, Oftentimes, when we confront somebody, we're looking for them to understand or to believe or to admit that they did something wrong. Um, to essentially to call us right. When I want to confront somebody, it's because I am right or believe that I'm right and they are wrong, and I need them to admit that. It's not, I don't even want them or desire them to admit that. I need it. It's a need. And when we have a need like that, when we feel so attached to the outcome, so attached to the requirement of them to admit that they were wrong, when we feel that attachment, examine where that comes from. Now, there are a couple of good reasons why a person might want to confront somebody else. If you're in charge of their training and they're they've shown that they know what they're doing, and they're specifically not doing what you know they know how to do. And when somebody is intending to harm you repeatedly and continuing to do so, you might want to confront them. However, whenever you confront somebody, it's important to have an outcome on purpose, to know what you're looking for. If all you're looking for is for them to admit that they're wrong and you're right, what is the purpose of that? Why do you need that? Why is that a requirement? Examine that. Why do you need them to be wrong and I'm right and you're right? Usually that comes from a place of, I don't feel good enough. I feel stupid. I feel wrong. I feel underappreciated, undervalued, maybe accused. I feel as if somebody's telling me I did something wrong, and I need to be right in order to prove that I didn't do something wrong. And if that's the place you're coming from, there's a lot of other ways to achieve that without confronting somebody. As a matter of fact, confronting somebody almost never proves that you're right. The best you can hope for in confronting somebody is to have a "we're both right" or "we'll agree to disagree" situation. That's the best you can hope for. When you confront somebody, the very act of confrontation does not allow for them to be a good person or to see themselves as a good person. And if that's your goal, to prove that they're not a good person, then then you need to look at where that goal comes from. Then that's more about you than it is about them. That's about what you need, what you want, what you're seeking, than it has anything to do with the wrong they or may not have done. Even if you can prove that what they did was wrong, Needing to prove that is more about you than it is about them. And if it's about you, then confronting them has no value for you because they're not going to give you what you want. The best you can hope for in confronting somebody is to walk away in shame, and that will make you feel good. I promise you. For those justice warriors out there, I promise you, it doesn't make you feel good proving somebody else wrong. It might make you feel justified, but it will not make you feel smart or correct or good or happy. It might make you justified. It might give you a reason to celebrate, have a few drinks, and and um, and cheer your victory and celebrate your victory. It might make you feel like that, but not in the same way that an athlete does when they honestly earn their victory over somebody else who was also doing their best. When you earn a victory by proving somebody else was doing their worst, it's not a victory. Having somebody admit they did something wrong, needing them to admit that they did something wrong, is similar to needing to convince a baby that they wet their diaper. Baby doesn't know any better. Person who does something wrong doesn't know any better. And even if they do, they're not going to admit it. It's not in their best interest. They would have to subvert their own self-value in order to do that. And if you won't subvert your self-value, why should they? The best way to confront somebody is to know exactly the thing you want. And I don't mean you want them to admit they're right or they're wrong, or them to admit you're right or you're wrong. I mean, what is it that being right or wrong means to you? What does that give you? If they're wrong and you're right, how does that make you feel? What does that give you? Does that make you better than other people? If you want to be better than other people, then you have a reason to feel like you're not as good as other people. There's some underneath thought there driving that. There is some deep seated fear or insecurity that you have that is causing that drive to feel right, to feel correct, to feel like you know and they don't. Address that. Because I promise you, if you address that need to feel right because somebody thinks you're wrong, somebody has always thought you were wrong, or maybe has thought you were wrong for most of your life, if you address that, you won't need to confront anybody. I haven't confronted somebody in 5 years. And the only person I did confront for 20 years before that was my wife. And I regret every time I did that. That's why she's an ex-wife now. Because I didn't, every time I saw a problem with her, I confronted her and expected her to change. It didn't. She didn't. She wasn't going to. And by confronting her, I disconnected that connection, which eventually led to her leaving. And if you're going to disconnect with your wife, if you're going to disconnect with somebody, if you're going to confront them and burn that bridge, why don't you just save yourself and them the grief and just break the connection? Why do you need to confront somebody to break that connection? And if you don't want to break the connection, you simply want them to admit that they're wrong, that's when you can work on why you need them to be wrong. Or better yet, why you need to be right. That's where a therapist or a life coach or a counselor or a psychiatrist or professional can come in handy. We can help you figure out where that comes from and how to deal with it. Confronting somebody is almost always a deep needed desire to prove you're right and they're wrong. And that will never lead to the love and connection that you're seeking. If you need to get rid of the toxic people in your life, the people who have wronged you, the people who continue to wrong you, simply get rid of them. Don't confront them. Don't make it so that they want to leave your life, because that's giving them control of your life. Take control, make the choice, and simply take them out of your life. It's way easier, it's way more emotionally stable, and it's far more likely to give you what you want. To get rid of the people you don't want in your life and to connect with the people you want to keep in your life. Now, I mentioned at the start of the video, there is a couple of reasons why we might want to confront somebody. If you're in a hierarchical position that is higher up the ladder than they are, for example, you're their direct supervisor or their direct manager, or you're up the ladder from them in the corporate scenario. If that's where you're at, and they have demonstrated to you that they know how to do what you've asked them to do, and I don't mean you know they know, because you can know they know without them proving it. A lot of people make the mistake of, I know you know how to do this because I've shown you. Well, that's about you. That doesn't account for anything in them. But if they've shown you multiple times, if they've been able to do it multiple times, if they can explain to you and tell you that they do know how to do it and with confidence be able to do it, if that's the case and they choose not to, then you can confront them and say, why are you not doing what I know you know how to do? And before you do that, make sure that you're not confronting them because you taught them something, but they didn't learn it. Just because you taught something does not mean they learned it. A lot of people will come away from a class or a course or a training with all the confidence they know how to do what was taught, and then not be able to do it. I challenge that if they haven't proven to you time and time again that they can do it, I would challenge that they don't know how. I can't count how many times, both as an employer, or sorry, as an employee, where managers came to me, supervisors came to me, I know you know how to do this. How do you know I know how to do it? How do you have that knowledge when I don't have that knowledge? And if I don't have that knowledge, how can you believe I know how to do something I don't believe I know how to do? I mean, we're talking about what I know. I know how to do it. And if I don't think I know how to do it, then how can you tell me I know? How can you tell me what knowledge is in my head? All you can confirm is the knowledge you have passed on, not the knowledge that's in my head. And as an employer or a supervisor, I remember many, many times coming to the guys underneath me, the people underneath me, and saying, I know you know how to do this. And they would say, but I don't. Can you show me? And after a while, I eventually said, I won't expect that you know how to do this until you've done it repeatedly with confidence. And if you haven't done it repeatedly with confidence, I will consider you in training mode until that point. And therefore, the consequences will be much, much smaller because you're still in training. The available training will be much, much more because you're still in training. when you feel confidently that you have that skill and can prove it repeatedly. That's when I'll take you out of training and say that you can do the skill. And that is when the consequences become harsher when you don't do it. And I have found when I did that, when I treated my employees that way, I had A, more loyalty, and B, more productivity, because they felt safe to try something if that they were unsure about doing, if they knew that they were still in training and had smaller consequences for doing it wrong. If they knew that they could come to me for support whenever they felt a little uncertain about something. And when I started treating my people that way, I found the performance in my department went up. My team was better at their jobs, were happier to do their jobs, showed up more consistently, had less turnover, had more loyal coworkers. Some of those guys are still my friends today, and this was 10, 15 years ago. So when you're confronting somebody, make sure that you know that they know how to do it. They have proven to you, and they told you that they can do it confidently after proving it to you, and not just during the training exercise. I'm talking about proving it to you in real life situations, live situations. Until they've proven it to you in real life, live situations, they don't know it. They can't confidently say they know it, although they might tell you they know it. So when you're confronting somebody, make sure that you that they have proven to you that they know what they're doing. And if they haven't, then confrontation isn't the result you're looking for. Confrontation where they admit that they're wrong, how do they even know that they're wrong? If they didn't know what they were doing in the first place, how did they know it was wrong? And if they hurt you, do they know they hurt you? Not did you tell them? I don't mean that. I mean, did they admit to you that they've hurt you? If they haven't, then maybe they don't know. And if they won't listen to you, then maybe they don't want to know. And confronting them isn't going to do you anything but make things worse. So examine why you want to confront somebody in the first place. Examine what the result is you're looking for in the first place. Examine what the deep down thoughts are. I need them to be wrong so that I can be right. Why do I need to be right? Because if I'm wrong, then I'm a bad person. Well, let's look at what makes you a bad person. For most people, the need to confront comes from a deep, deep insecurity. And there's a few layers. For most people, the need to confront comes from a desire to be, from a need to be right, from a need to be a good person. And that need usually comes from a deep seated shame or a deep seated insecurity. I need to be right because I was told for so long that I'm wrong. I need to be a good person because I was told for so long, or by somebody very, very important to me, that I'm a bad person. I need to be right. I need to be a good person because I have all this doubt, all this fear, all this stuff going on inside of me that says I'm not. And if that's the case, my friend, and I promise you, if you want to confront somebody, I promise you there's a 99.9% chance there's some kind of fear inside of you. I've experienced it myself so many times. And every client I have who has wanted to confront somebody, that's what's underneath it. Every client I've ever helped with the idea of confronting other people, that's what's underneath it. There is a fear, there is a feeling, there is an insecurity, there is a shame, there is something deep, deep down that confrontation allows you to prove wrong. And even if you prove it wrong, you won't believe it. Even if you prove that you were right and they were wrong, which almost never happens. And even on the odd, rare chance that it did happen and they admit being wrong and you were right, that still doesn't make that feeling go away. So you were right once, but doesn't counteract all of the times or the huge amount of time that you felt wrong. So they admit that that you're the good person and they're the bad person. That won't help you feel better about all the times you feel like the bad person. Even if you got the results you're looking for, it won't change the way you feel about yourself. There is a way to change how you feel about yourself. And that comes from examining why you feel wrong or like a bad person in the first place. What caused that? Where did that come from? Who told you you were a bad person or that you were wrong? When was the first time you remember hearing that? And then find someone to help you with that. Talk to your network, talk to your support group, talk to your professionals. And if you don't have any, reach out and find some. I promise you, if you deal with the hurt and pain that causes you need confrontation, you will not only not need to confront those people, but you will be free to let them go if they're bad for you, or to rebuild and secure that connection if they're people you want in your life. But that can only happen when you heal the wounds inside of you that may or may not have had anything to do with them. Oftentimes, when we want to confront somebody, it's because something they said or did triggered a deep wound inside of us. And although they probably didn't cause that wound in the first place, them triggering it is like stabbing a knife in an already open wound. Yeah, it hurts, but they didn't cause it. So taking it out on them won't heal it. Confronting them won't heal it. Confronting the person you have the courage to confront doesn't heal the wound that caused it in the first place, that wasn't caused by them. Maybe they just rewounded an existing wound. And the final piece I wanted to add to this equation is the people that I have helped with confrontation, the people that I have helped with the idea of confronting someone, almost never have the courage to confront that person or those people in their normal, everyday brain, the way they feel most days. They don't have the courage. So they have a few drinks, maybe a few more than a few drinks, to get that courage. The same kind of courage that lets a lot of men ask a lady to dance on the dance floor, or a lot of ladies to say yes, or to ask a man to dance on the dance floor. The same kind of courage that lets us be ourselves out in public when we feel really shy and nervous, maybe insecure. That same kind of courage that we pull upon, that we draw upon to do all kinds of things that we don't normally want to do, but we deeply kind of like to do. For most people, that's either alcohol or some kind of a drug. And if you need chemical assistance like that in order to be able to confront somebody, that's signal number one that your body and your emotions don't even want the confrontation. If that's where you find yourself, then you might reconsider the confrontation in the first place. If you have to drink or smoke a joint or take some kind of drug in order to get up the courage to confront somebody, then confronting somebody isn't what you need in the first place. If you do seriously think somebody needs to be confronted, you'll be able to do it with a clean and sober and sane mind. And if you can't do that, there's a very good chance that they shouldn't be confronted in the first place. The confronting them will not get you the results you're looking for. There is a way to get what you're looking for. And drinking and doing drugs isn't that way when it comes to confrontation. Now, I'm not suggesting nobody should drink or nobody should do drugs. I don't have a problem with those things. Those are very useful recreational tools to have for recreation. But to use them to allow us to confront somebody is one of the most destructive ways we can break relationships. And every client I have who has confronted somebody while drinking or on drugs has broken that relationship. In some cases, beyond repair. In other cases, once they sober up and stay sober and then try and rebuild that relationship, they were able to. But in most cases, it was beyond repair. They never could recover that relationship. Don't confront somebody while you're under the influence of drug or alcohol. You will destroy the relationship. And if you want to destroy the relationship, you don't need drugs or alcohol for that. Simply send them a call or a letter or an email or a text and say, I can't continue this relationship with you. Please don't talk to me anymore. It's that simple. And then get help for those wounds that cause you to need to be confronting somebody in the first place. Find somebody that you can talk to. Whether that's in your own circle of friends and family, or whether that's in your extended support group, or whether that's a professional you ask. Find help so that you don't need to be confronting all the people you care about and love, or all the people that you really just want to get rid of in your life. There's no reason to burn bridges like that. It takes way more time and energy than you need to spend to do those things. There are way easier ways to achieve those goals, and ways that are likely to get what you want way more than confronting somebody does. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions on this subject or want to talk about anything else, let me know. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel. I have more like this coming. I'll talk to you later.